All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this round two of the CEVO Open placement match between five Manlets and the Black Crows. The Black Crows taking a pretty dominating performance here in the first round, and I actually forgot to update this because I am a little bit rusty, but Black Crows are up one match here, so five Manlets trying to make a comeback. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. It's my pleasure to be here today with Toffee's Dota Toffees. What a game, huh?
What's up? Or should I say aloha?
Five Manlets immediately getting rid of that Nature's Prophet and can't blame them at all.
Not at all. It definitely did some damage on them. And not so much that it did direct damage, but it just kept them guessing the entire match. They had to watch that split push. And more importantly, the Nature's Prophet last round had a really good knack for showing up in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, he was, not only did he get a courier pick, but he was able to teleport in on team fights and ganks maybe 3 or 4 times and turn fights. And the other little aspect of that we might not be inclined to talk about as much is the fact that he was in the game meant that five manless was unable to really 4 or 5 man up and push because they'd be punished by the split push.
Absolutely. And being that five manlets really wanted to have that 5-man running, and the split push did tear them apart. So obviously, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we're looking at this draft hoping to see some more lockdown out of five manlets. Last time around, we saw literally almost nothing, except a Elder Titan stun that was very unpredictable. And the essential strategy for the Black Crows was carry a TP, and when all else fails, just leave.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's time to go home. Things are not going well. I'm just going to back out. Five Manlets tried to do that as well, and it worked a fair amount because the Black Crows also didn't really draft any reliable stuns. They had the Alchemist stun, and that's about it. So
That is true.
both teams deciding to, hopefully, at least, go for a little bit more lockdown in this game. The Slark band coming out of the Black Crows, they don't want to deal with what they just had to see. Honestly, I don't know that the Slark was enough of an issue for Black Crows to be concerned about it, but throwing down the ban either way.
Maybe Rubik's just tired of being chased.
Yeah. And the Alchemist coming out, that's an extremely strong first round pick. He's one of the most versatile heroes in the game and also one of the most survivable. In addition, he has that Unstable Concoction, which is one of the best level 1, level 2 stuns in the game. Not the longest stun, but certainly applicable in the most situations.
Absolutely, and that combined with the armor reduction and the ability to never really leave lane, keep his own regen, both in health and mana up at almost all times, makes him just this ridiculously strong support. Combined with the fact that he can transition to a semi-carry, I think that is why he's picked up so much, even with the nerf.
Yeah, and as a first pickup, you can never really discount the fact that Alchemist is an extremely hard carry in and of his own right. So 5 manless right now, we'll probably see that as a support Alchemist because he's the most popular as support right now. But Black Crows can't count on that. They cannot draft assuming that's a support Alchemist, which makes him so powerful in that position. You give nothing away about your strategy, and you grab that great stun, and you grab the great push, and you grab the great survivability / tank, and the armor reduction. There's really no reason not to grab an Alchemist first draft if he fits your lineup whatsoever.
Absolutely. Also, we see Visage and Clockwork picked up by the Black Crows. And I think 2 good pickups for them. Clockwork, an incredibly strong offlane. And Visage, like we said before, if you have the man who can handle the micro, the Visage is probably one of, in my opinion, the most valuable, powerful support in the game.
Yeah, now that they've killed the movement speed on the Visage a little bit, I'm backing off him a little bit because his mobility is extremely important for the playstyle that you require out of a Visage. He needs to be everywhere. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to be in your face. And that 5 move speed makes a big difference in the early game. That being said, you're right. With the right micro skills, having 2 chainable stuns along with the damage output plus the soul assumption, and he's survivable, makes him extremely valuable as a support. He's not very farm dependent either, so...
Absolutely. He also does a good job of discouraging picks like a Marana or a Pudge or things like that he can use his familiars to tangle with aggressively.
Yeah, and the scouting that comes out of the familiars really screw with the Pudge as well.
Exactly. So Weaver picked up on the top. Weaver presumably going to be in their off lane up against the Clockwork. What do you think about that matchup?
Well, at the moment, I'm still not convinced that Weaver won't be in a one-man farming carry role. We could see this Alchemist thrown into an aggressive tri-lane and see the Weaver do a farming carry as a 1, but then the Visage also works really well in a tri-lane, so an aggressive tri-lane, excuse me. I'm not really sure that I feel like I have enough information about either of these guys' drafts in order to call whether or not that Weaver's going to be farming carrier off lane.
Fair enough. Well, we will wait and see. I'm still going to pretend that I'm right because it'll give me bragging rights later.
Yeah, well, certainly it's very, very likely, very possible that we could see that Weaver up against the Clockwork. And in that situation, I would say the Clockwork is too defensive for that Weaver to feel like he's certain to get a kill. But at the same time, the Weaver is too defensive for the Clockwork to get a kill. Weaver will have a little bit of an edge in terms of getting CS, but I'm not positive that that is really going to go one way or the other. Of course, the farm a little bit more valuable on the Weaver than it is on the Clockwork. So,
absolutely. So now we see a Viper banned out. Can't say I'm going to complain about that. And another Doom ban.
Yeah, Doom makes a lot of sense here. That his ultimate, one of the most powerful ultimates in the game, basically able to remove somebody from a fight and make any fight with a caster. Make any fight against a team that has any single caster on their team, in their lineup, that becomes a 4-on-5 fight. And not only that, Doom is extremely valuable at holding down a Weaver, at holding down a Timbersaw, at holding down a Slark, at holding down anybody who's dependent on an escape mechanism, an anti-mage, because not only does the Doom silence you so you can't use those escape mechanisms, but he also has level death to pop a Linken's in the case of a Weaver. So you can't even rely on a Linken's because he's got a fairly spammable spell that he can just pop your Linken's with and then silence you.
Absolutely. So Doom, a good band. OD banned out this time around. They don't want to see him on the field. They did get to see him. I think it was in the hands of 5 Manlets last time. So maybe the play of 5 Manlets did convince them that the mid OD is a bad idea.
Black Crow's grabbing that Life Stealer.
Absolutely. I personally like the Clockwork Lifestealer bomb. I think it works really well, especially when you start to fall behind a little bit and need to get that Lifestealer in for some quick gank kills. The two of them can take out carries that have had a little more time to farm.
Yeah, we should probably be seeing either a Puck or a Storm Spirit pick up along with the Lifestealer and Clockwork. Storm and Puck both able to roll in and do a little bit of crowd control, able to roll in with a Clockwork from a distance for that 3-man initiation from like 2,500 range. But also the Puck in particular allows for a big area denial and forces a team to fight once you initiate in on that. That Dream Coil extremely valuable alongside a Clockwork. They're going to grab the Storm Spirit instead. Still a very good pickup.
Absolutely. Crystal Maiden picked up by 5 Manlets. I like that. Crystal Maiden combined with Alchemist obviously makes one of the best early roam teams. And we talked about wanting to see those early gank rotations out of 5 Manlets this time. And Crystal Maiden and Alchemist are the pair made in heaven for those early ganks.
Yeah, and Crystal Maiden and Alchemist work very well in aggressive tri-lane for Dire's side. Particularly because it's a little bit easier to get into the jungle and allow Crystal Maiden to do some jungle work and on terms of using her Frostbite on creeps for if you are in the Dire offlane rather than if you're on the Radiant offlane. There's easier access to the jungle. So I'm still not willing to discount the Alchemist, Weaver, Crystal Maiden tri-lane in the Dire side aggressive, but it's still a little early call. 5 Manlets not giving away a whole lot about their strategy other than they'll probably have some sort of roaming supports working.
Absolutely. I do want to point out they have significantly more stun already than they did last time around and lockdown. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that the Frostbite does have a mini stun built in. I believe it cancels TPs from what I've read. Do you know if that's true or not?
Frostbite should cancel TPs. Yeah, it cancels channeling. It cancels TPs. It works as a standard stun.
Which I always found strange that it doesn't actually include that in the description for those two.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, it counts it. I mean, it's a hard lockdown, a reliable hard lockdown.
Excellent. Then we see DP picked up the dreaded level 6 push.
So that DP does give away the fact that Alchemist is not going to be your mid. That's going to be a mid DP. So this last pick is really going to determine, probably, at least let us know what 5 Manlets is thinking, because, once again, they have a very strong aggressive tri-lane here. They could also pick up an even stronger aggressive tri-lane snag, like somebody like a Juggernaut, and allow that Weaver to solo safe lane farm against the Clockwork, as you were saying, that could be a one-on-one situation. Black Crows have a little bit more standard of a draft, though, once again, Lifestealer does like to be in those aggressive tri-lanes, as does Visage, so we'll probably see Black Crows try to get a try-on-try situation. Whatever direction they think 5 Manlets is going to go, they'll probably go that way as well.
Absolutely. So if you think that try versus try is going to come onto the table, what do you see Black Crows picking up as a support here?
Black Crows could, well, let's think. What is still on the table? The Rubik would have been very strong, but Rubik did get banned out just now. So very nice ban coming out of 5 Manlets. Obviously, they're going to want something with the hard stun because they don't have that already. So we could be looking at a Witch Doctor, a Shadow Shaman, a VS. Any of those would be very strong. The Shackles, I think, is underrated for early game disable. Yes, it is channeling, but the duration of it and the ability that you can cast it from such a range, from such a distance, and the fact that it is essentially spammable make it very, very powerful.
Absolutely. I think we'll see a little push coming out of 5 Manlets. I think a Shadow Shaman would also do a good job of slowing that push down, but I also think an Abaddon could fit. I'm sorry, not an Abaddon. A Bane could fit in well here with the Black Crows lineup.
Yeah, a Bane could fit well. A Bane would really fit the best if Black Crows plans on doing a defensive try and they're hoping 5 Manlets does an aggressive try against them. Because that Nightmare, not really as strong in aggressive try lane unless you're running a Mirana or something, because the lockdown, once again, it's one of those reliable lockdowns, so you can't really beat anybody up on it, and it allows 5 Manlets to reposition just as well as it allows Black Crows to reposition.
Absolutely. And I do like the idea of Bane later in the game being able to use that grasp to isolate Weaver and things of that in team fights.
I love that Earthshaker pick. There's a very long-range, reliable stun along with area denial that forces repathing. Very strong for a tri-lane with a Visage and Lifestealer. I like that a lot. The Mirana pick still doesn't tell us a whole lot because that Mirana could go with the aggressive tri-lane. That Mirana could solo safe lane farm. The Weaver could go in aggressive tri-lane or could solo safe lane farm. I expect Weaver, Alchemist, Crystal Maiden, aggressive tri-lane, Mirana, safe lane farming. But I wouldn't put money on it.
I think I would agree with that as well, only because I know we watched Banana Slam Jamma in the last match, and he likes to try and get that early up ahead and is a very aggressive player. So he does have that style that I think works well on a solo lane.
Yeah, and Banana Slam Jamma does usually play that farming carry role, and Weaver in this case will probably be, if he's in the off lane, will probably not be getting quite as much farm as that Mirana would. So yeah, it's a little hard to call at this point either way. Let's go ahead and run through our players real quick before we see some action. Yeah, we are definitely seeing an aggressive tri-lane here because Alchemist is running bottom.
Excellent. So I'll introduce the diary real quick,
All right, go ahead.
All right, so 5 Man is going to be running up in that top lane, the Banana Slam Jamma on the farming Mirana. Looks like YOLO Swaggins #hashtag, which is a bit redundant. It's going to be playing the Crystal Maiden. Down in the mid, we're going to see Cinco Hombre, Socom Master 123. Were their names this bad last time? Playing the Death Prophet in the mid. Steric will be playing the Weaver, and Kyov will be playing the Alchemist.
And for the Black Crows, we've got Optimist playing that Visage. We've got the TBC John hanging out on that Earthshaker. We've got Lawson Hollywood on the Lifestealer. In the mid lane, we've got Knight. It's ambiguous. The stand-in, Knight, sitting on that Storm in the mid lane, and for the off lane, we've got Goozy doing that one-on-one against the farming Mirana. Yeah, these lanes are shaping up exactly how we expected them to, and there could be some jungle-on-jungle action here. Optimus has been spotted out, and he's just out of range of the Unstable Concoction. Alchemist is going to have to retreat, but now TBC thinking about re-engaging on that and decided not to. Probably not the most prudent move. They only have 2, and there is 3 of 5 man there, but both teams know what's on the table now.
So tempting when that Alchemist stuns himself to turn and try to reinitiate.
Yeah, especially when you have the long stun coming out of Earthshaker. Not only is it fairly long duration, but it's also very long distance.
I do want to point out that the All-Star from the last round, Hane, is not in this match.
Yeah, new stand-in, and that was probably why we were waiting in lobby for so long. They were trying to find a new player to stand in. And that's going to be nice. So that's going to be a bit of a wild card for us here. Very nice counter-warding coming out here of TBC. And they've got great bottom vision. Not only do they have the rune vision, but they also have the rotation vision here.
Absolutely. Love that ward. Love the ability to make sure that nothing's going to be coming at them aggressively. And it is going to give, I think, that advantage to the safe tri-lane.
Yeah, the safe tri-lane probably already had a little bit of advantage just because the Rage is fairly defensive, and the burden is on 5 Manlets to make something happen here with the aggressive tri-lane. Not as much as it was before 6.79, but still notably. They're the team that has to make moves. They have to come out a little bit ahead in terms of kills because they're going to be a little bit behind in terms of farm.
Absolutely. And if you look at those, they put down 2 sentry wards. They have a ton of vision on this side of the lane, which means that they can really, if they choose to stack there, it's going to be tempting Saguchi to come in and roll back out through the jungle. And those double visions are going to make sure that Saguchi runs into trouble if he tries to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm interested to see that this Alchemist has been kind of walking around. He moved back here. He did put up a ward that was seen by the Radiant. And he's still sitting on top of another one of these wards. So very slow warding coming out of 5 Manlets. They're having trouble getting into position. There's obviously a very specific place they want this last ward. And they've been trying to force their way into the jungle to drop it down here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there it is. That's the position they wanted.
That's going to be counter-warded right away, I suspect.
Yeah.
Oh, they already used. It looks like they already used both of their. So yeah, they did use both their sentries. So while TBC is aware that that ward is there, they blew both their sentries, trying to make sure that they had Shikuchi vision, and have no ability to counter ward this, which means that they're going to be without poles for some time.
Absolutely. So interesting. And there's no way they could have known that, though, when they dropped that ward. So it really makes me wonder about that ward's placement.
Yeah, well, they might have seen the inventory, but you're right. They probably were unaware. At this level of play, I wouldn't expect inventory checks to be that thorough that you would know when both sentry wards have been dropped. This ward makes a lot of sense in terms of it gives you this aggressive vision. I'm going to draw on the map while I'm over here just in case something happens. It gives you this aggressive vision down here, allows you to block this camp, and gives you lane vision out this way and this way for any rotations. But if they had dropped it a little bit lower, say about here, and we're going to see some movement potentially. Sounds like nope, the Crystal Maiden just taking a little bit of open wounds, but nothing too stellar. But yeah, had they dropped it, say, right here, they would have blocked that and also gotten a little bit more pertinent vision for their lane. So I'm not 100% sure that I agree with that warding. The other thing is you don't necessarily want to block your pole camp if you're an aggressive tri lane, because if the supports are coming over here, that means they're not in the lane. You can either go gank the supports or try to kill the carry, but now you're just forcing the supports to be protecting the carry the entire time, guaranteeing that you're going to have 3-on-3 fights.
Absolutely, and I do want to point out that this aggressive tri-lane hasn't been as successful as they'd like to be, keeping this Lifestealer out of experience range.
Yeah, certainly he's getting a lot of experience. In terms of last hits, he's sitting near the bottom. He's, in fact, the bottom non-support hero in the game. So they're doing all right in terms of that. Weaver just barely ahead of him, though, so I don't know that they're really coming out ahead in this way.
So that D ward is out, and now they have sentry wards pretty much everywhere in the jungle.
Yeah, so Weaver, stay out of the jungle, buddy. It will not end well for you.
I wonder if this is a pattern we'll see the entire match. So up in the top lane, it's been pretty quiet between Banana and Goozy. Just to give you a little update there, Goozy is dead even with Banana on the farm.
It's a race for the invisibility run. Earthshaker comes in and stops the Death Rod from being able to get away. Not only is she stunned, she can't even move. The electric vortex is going to pull her in as well. One more auto attack ought to do it. No, she gets away with 11 health. And she does end up running right into the Visage. Visage grabs that kill from the high ground. The stun going out from the Alchemist, but first blood has already been taken. Sterric taking some damage as well on the Weaver. Now, Optimus trying to get away. He is going to be defended by both the Lifestealer and the Earthshaker. What a nice set of plays coming out of the Black Crows. Really taking advantage of that side-by-side jaunt down to the invisibility rune.
Absolutely. I do want to point out that there was a little bit of a good awareness coming out of 5-man. CEV popped his unstable concoction before they exited the water, knowing that Sterric was going to have the speed with Saguchi to get up there and get vision on that little sniper named Visage.
Yeah, that was very nice. I also suspect that he was waiting for Storm to come up too, because Storm had been behind him. So that was just an all-around defensive unstable concoction. We see some action on Optimus here. There's a very nice, well, it was a nice stun, but what was not nice about it is he trapped the hero on the wrong side of the wall.
Yeah.
And ended up blocking his team out. So my instincts to say very nice, not quite on par here. Sterric trying to get in and get a little bit of farm. He's harassing down this Lifestealer fairly well. Lifestealer is almost out of regen at this point. And Crystal Maiden, along with that Crystal Nova, doing a fair amount of damage herself.
Absolutely. Crystal Nova, just a really strong early game nuke with that AoE capability, and they are using it to their full potential here by YOLO Swaggins.
So how do you feel like this mid lane is going? Looking at the last hits tonight, I know we haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to it, but now Krab has gone down, and Storm seems to be more or less dominating the rune control.
He is. He's gotten every rune that I've seen so far, due in part to the assistance of Earthshaker. Well, no, he's going to lose his first rune here to Death Prophet, but he is killing on the last lanes and doing a great job. He's also getting a lot of denies, so Death Prophet having a hard time getting the farm that she needs to kind of get up and running here.
Yeah, the Storm Spirit also a fairly strong hero to go up against a Death Prophet because he's not very cast dependent in the early game, so the silence doesn't bother him. And of course, Storm Spirit doesn't really rotate until level 7, 8, 9. So you don't have to worry about that Death Prophet hitting level 6 and just blasting down your tower because you are probably going to have somebody there to protect the tower.
Absolutely. Death Prophet is on 6 right now, and Storm Spirit is 7, so he's going to start rotating out. I would assume the Death
Unstable
Prophet will
Concoction pop here in the bottom, and that's going to be a stun on Optimus. Meanwhile, the Crystal Maiden has stunned out John trying to get away. He managed to get away. The Crystal Nova going down now. Optimus taking additional open wounds on CEV. Oh, the Soul Assumption on the Weaver, who was right on top of a ward. Oh, bad place to be. He was unaware that no matter where he goes, they can see him.
He did not know that there was a jungle death trap with his name on it.
Yeah, and that brings our kills to 2-0 in favor of the Black Crows. This aggressive tri-lane starting to turn into a little bit of a nightmare for 5 Manlets. They're falling way behind in it.
Absolutely. So it got off to a slow start, but it really has picked up steam in the last 2 minutes or so.
Yeah. So as far as the Black Crows, do you feel like they are on point here? And oh, actually, it looks like Goozy's trying to activate himself on, or excuse me, engage on Dance Like Them. He's got a rocket, but
There's a
very nice blind hook. But he's unable to grab the kill because of the Moonlight Shadow. He manages to grab it just with another battery assault. Very nice play from Goozy securing that kill.
Absolutely.
Now, Death Prophet
Beautiful
with
blind
coming
shots.
in behind him. And she's going to go into the secret shop. She thinks he's there. She throws down the silence and the Crypt Swarm, but she doesn't manage to hit him with either.
Nice job. Yeah, he landed a blind cog and he was blind battering. I think, was that hookshot blind? Did you notice that?
The hookshot was blind, and once he hookshot, then he threw down the cogs because he knew that he hit something. So he threw down the cogs, but he was sitting in the tower. That could have gone really poorly for him, but fortunately for him, the Mirana didn't really have anything at her disposal at that point. She had spent just about all of her mana.
Absolutely. And I think we are talking a little bit earlier about, is this working for TBC? And I definitely believe that it is. I also know that we've got that smoke on the CM, and I expect to see a gank rotation come from them very, very soon here.
Yeah, as we move into more of a mid-game positioning here, TBC wants to be ahead because the push is definitely in favor of 5 Manlets. They have not only the split push of a Weaver, but they have the Alchemist and the Death Prophet as well. So they're going to be able to play a little bit from behind. TBC has more of a late game / team fight sort of build for their team, and really they need to be up about the distance that they are up moving into this stage in the game. So it's working out pretty well for them, but it's certainly not out of character for this to swing out of their favor.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that they're doing really well is they're using aggression rotations to keep Death Prophet on her toes. So she can't just go out and take towers. So what they're doing is they're slowing down the ability for that Death Prophet to go in and use her ulti. She's had it up for almost 2 minutes now, and she still hasn't activated it.
Yeah, and once again, this is one of the reasons that Storm is a fairly nice laning partner for Death Prophet, because he's very happy staying in his lane. He doesn't really want to go out and start ganking until he feels like he's got his level and farm up. Really, he'd be pretty content not ganking until he gets his Orchid up, which will be, I would imagine, around 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes, though his Orchid's coming out maybe a little bit slower than that.
Yeah, he does have the first Oblivion staff on, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's sitting on 1,300 gold as well. He is top of the last hits denies. At 10 minutes, he's sitting at over 50 last hits. That's a very nice score, especially for this level of play, because this is CEVO Open. It is not necessarily the competitive semi-pro level that we might see some of our other teams. These are the teams that are hoping to get there, hoping to prove themselves. A lot of these teams very good, but at this level of play, a lot of times we would not expect mid players up against fairly competent peers to be popping over 50%, you know.
Absolutely. So no, both those mid players though doing very, very well on those last hits. Considering they're both doing so well, I think is the impressive part.
Yeah, Death Prophet doing very well considering she gave in a first blood and she's been rotating. She's still sitting on 33, which is not terrible.
Absolutely. And then Mirana obviously doing quite well for herself, and they've been pretty aggressive against her up there. Speaking of,
very nice. Earthshaker comes in with the stun, but he manages to almost trap the Visage. Goozy trying to make the capture, but not landing the cogs quite well. Very nice blind hook shot. Now the Unstable Concoction going out on Optimus. To turn around, another arrow out on Optimus. Banana Slime Jamma turning around, showing his greed, managing to grab himself a kill with Starstorm, and backing up. He is sitting at 323 health as he turns around now on Goozy. The Unstable Concoction goes out on Goozy. There's some auto tech. Now Stand and Knight comes in, going on Banana Slime Jamma and secure out that kill. He's Electric Vortex pulling the Crystal Maiden aside as well. The Death Prophet pops the Exorcism, but will it be enough to get it? No, it does not deter TBC at all, and they end up giving away 3 for 2, what could have been a 1-for-0 trade.
That was that ended up a lot different than I guess I thought it would start out.
That Banana Slam Jamma playing again with a little bit of that Havos complex, deciding I'm going to be a playmaker even when it might cost me.
Down on the bottom, Weaver and Lifestealer left to their own mechanisms and just farming their brains out right now.
Yeah, Lifestealer doing very, very well, sitting on second in terms of net worth. Weaver is about 1,000 behind him in terms of net worth, so that shows you really the damage that this aggressive trialing has been doing to the Weaver. However, Mirana only about 200 behind, so in terms of farming carries, the Mirana is more or less keeping up with the Lifestealer. I would say a Lifestealer usually a little higher priority in terms of farm, though, than the Mirana.
Yeah, I will say this about the Lifestealer is he did just buy his Hand of Midas recipe, and I don't know, I usually feel, looks like we got some possible action down here.
Yeah, it looks like Weaver's going to get away with this Shikuchi. A very nice try from Stand and Knight, but Shikuchi had, or excuse me, Weaver had his finger on the pulse of the game, heard that ball lightning, and immediately hit Shikuchi up on the sound. Death Prophet getting a deny in the mid. Goozy taking an unstable concoction, but he's got cogs up, so he'll be fairly well protected against this 3-man squad.
Absolutely. Now, what I was saying real quick about that Lifestealer is I'm not a huge fan of the Lifestealer going Hand of Midas anytime after that 13, 14-minute mark. I just don't think it has the late-game benefit when it takes that long to come out. Yeah,
honestly, Lifestealer, more of a mid-game carry anyway. Once you get him in the mid-game, he can go into the late game extremely strong, but I agree. That Hand of Midas, especially with the changes to the meta that we've seen as of late, it really needs to come out on a hero like Lifestealer at like 8 minutes or sooner. 12 minutes is really pushing. At 13, he'd been better off just grabbing himself an armlet instead.
Absolutely.
Some action here brewing in the bottom lane. Oh boy, TBC Optimus standing in a world of hurt. He's surrounded by more enemies than he knows, and he goes down before he has an opportunity to react.
He was looking at the bright side and never saw it coming.
He's looking at the bright side, but death always comes from the dark side.
Oh,
a very nice arrow hit Stand and Knight. Banana Slime Jam trying to move in, but the Fissure goes out, stunning him. Oh, Banana Slam Jamma, what are you doing, buddy? He gets himself caught in the tower, narrowly misses that kill on Storm Spirit, who manages to get himself away. And that's another kill that Banana Slam Jamma could not bear to see himself without, and decided to go in risky. And he ended up paying the price. And
I think he would have had it not been for the perfectly aimed wall or fissure thrown down by John John.
Yeah, John John has been all over the place with those fissures. I mean, he missed that one down here, but other than that, he has really been nailing those fissures.
And on that one, not only did he get the stun off, but it would have been easy to stun on the left hip and force Mirana into the ability to DPS on the other side of the DPS, old Warcraft player, to get the damage out on the other side of the wall. But because he threw it to the right hip, he actually separated the two and kept her from getting the right clicks in.
Yeah, very, very nice. Oh, CEVO moving in on Goozy here. There goes the cogs, but that's not going to be enough. A second stun coming out of Banana Slam Jamma, and she's just going to auto attack over the cogs, grabbing those kills because of her very nice range. 600 range on that Mirana. That's a fairly standard. That is almost the maximum range for range heroes. I think there's maybe 3 heroes that have a farther range, but Mirana,
smoke on the bottom.
Yeah, smoke coming out. Optimus going back to his graveyard, moving up, looking for a gank. Last time it didn't work out so well, but this time he's got smoke. He's the invisible hunter in the night this time. He wants vengeance. Sterek is going to be able to get away, even though he is dusted. That Shikuchi move speed, very nice. Meanwhile, Storm Spirit managing to grab a kill here in the mid lane against Death Prophet. Yeah, he was given a little bit too long to basically free farm. Death Prophet left his lane, or left her lane rather, trying to use that exorcism, unsuccessfully was unable to force that Storm Spirit out of the lane, and now Storm Spirit has, yeah, he did get that Orchid up around the 12-minute mark.
So it was a good, well-timed Orchid. They were able to take that top tower in exchange, but they're probably going to lose this next one as well.
Yeah, they've already lost this bottom tower. They also lost a hero, and now they're got a tier 2 being pressured, and there's really no heroes around to defend this. TBC seems unaware, though. They're a little bit skittish about this.
Yeah. They don't have enough vision aggressively to really be confident in sticking out here, so I expect them to fall back. There's no way for them to know that they could have gone in so aggressively.
Yeah, they have this ward up here, and they presumably want to use it. That was a very nice push ward, not only for the tier 1 tower here, but also it's a very nice push ward for the tier 2. It gives vision up to about this line in the lane, so you can see the reactions coming. But if you are on 5 manlets, how do you get yourself back into this game from this period of time?
So I think the 5 manlets key is they do have some great stuns that need to be used synchronously. I just made that word up. Need to be used one after another. They need to land an arrow, follow with the alchemist, and try to isolate one or two of these TBC heroes to get themselves back into it. Presumably, I think they need to do a multifaceted stun on Storm Spirit, because Storm Spirit is really turning into a really strong snowball right now. But if they can get a good arrow on him, followed by a concoction, and slow him down, I think that's going to be the key to transitioning into a tower. I
would certainly not disagree with that. I would think, in addition, 5 manning up and getting some towers is really important for this team. 5 manlets drafted with the intention of being able to out-tower. Banana Slam Jam just standing in the tower, getting double stunned out by these familiars and taking probably about 300 damage of harass during that period of time. And also the salve wasted, because an auto attack from a creep. Not really where he wants to be.
No, but they're in a good position to push this tower. They know that their top tower is under assault. They have a few seconds to kind of move on this.
Very nice. Fissure trying to slow it down, but there's really nothing to be done. The Exorcism up along with the Alchemist ult and the negative armor on the creeps coming from Acid Spray. Man, that tower was not long for this world. The push on top, not nearly as quick because, like we said, the Black Crows do not have the same amount of push. However, the TP defense comes in and Krob immediately getting Electric Vortex and going down. Stand Knight just waiting for somebody to teleport in for the defense so he could do that. He wanted it. He could taste it.
That push was almost more of a bait than it was a push.
Yeah. And Black Rose kind of lucky that there was the teleportation rather than the slow jaunt up. I mean, honestly, they weren't doing any significant damage to the tower. If Death Prophet had been willing to be a little bit... Oh, well, let's go ahead and watch this Electric Vortex here on CF. The Cogs, very nice job, unable to pop his ult because it is... the mini-suns were too much for him to be able to get that out, and he goes down.
So they get 2 towers, 2 kills and a tower in exchange for a tier 1.
Things are really starting to look out of control for 5 manlets. They are sitting at 4,000, in excess of 4,000 gold deficit. Nearly 10,000 in experience, which means they're going to have a lot of trouble doing this 5-man strategy, 4-for-1 strategy, because they're so far behind in experience. And what you exchange when you want to do those 4-man strategies is that you're getting less experience than the other team.
Absolutely, and I want to point out that it's not just the overall experience. Storm Spirit is 14. The highest person on Dire right now is Banana Slam Jamma at a whopping 11. So Storm Spirit really can take anybody he wants to on this map anytime.
Yeah, and that minus is going to start getting this lifesteal out of control. And since 5 manlets having a little bit of trouble getting their heroes going, the fact that minus came out so late, not really relatively as important, because the mid game is coming later for 5 manlets than it normally would, which means that it's okay if it comes later for lifestealer as well.
Absolutely. He does have his drums and his armlet up and running now, as well as the phase boots.
And at this point in time, I don't know that 5 manlets really has the team fight to get this going unless they manage to pick one first.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to be the key, is they had the option to do some tower pushes, but they're really going to have to look for some picks at this point.
I expect 5 manlets to try and get a little bit of control of the map and then go pull a Roshan grab. Revenge Esports style. I don't know if anybody watched the MLG TKO match today, but Revenge Esports got an uncontested Roshan at like 14 minutes when they were down 12 kills or something like that. And it completely didn't matter. But in this particular case, it could be the difference between turning this game and not.
Absolutely.
They have the medallion up, and they have had it up for quite some time. And they're very aware that the Black Crows has been scouting it out as well.
So Storm Spirit bottles a double damage rune, already scary, and then Pop Dust with an Infest Bomb on top of that. And things are about to get very real for Alchemist if he walks down these stairs.
Yeah, something is about to get IED'd with that Lifestealer jumping out. Oh, there it is! Storm Spirit jumping in, trying to find something. Oh, and he finds the Crystal Maiden who immediately blows up. There was no hope. Goozy managing to grab Seoff, who goes down as well. That's a 2-for-0 trade, and the double damage rune is still up on this Storm Spirit. And the wave is pushing in right now. What timing coming out of the Black Crows. They knew this wave is coming up, which means that they're going to be able to push on the tower. They just need 2 or 3 creeps to be able to knock it down. Double damage from Steric throwing out the buggers, but that is just dangerous. They need to back up into their base right now. Go home. You are not wanted here.
Stun almost hit, by the way. Puck moved about a half a second before that stun finished its chase.
Yeah, there was no vision on anybody. Oh, actually, Storm Spirit does have a gem. A gem alongside the silence. So not only can it keep you from going invisible, it doesn't even matter if you do.
Absolutely.
That's painful.
Said puck meant Weaver, so I think that they're using that really well. Storm Spirit's jumping in with the gem first and allowing Earth Spirit to line up those stuns very, very successfully.
Yeah, that Earthshaker is very, very dangerous for this 5-man squad because the 1,000, I believe it is, distance on the fissure, it's deceptively large. You can think that you're able to see all of your opponents and that you're fine, but that Earthshaker just barely needs to snag you for it. 5-manless knows the score here. They're trying to do something, but Storm would rather just run in and kill the entire team, bring in the lifesteal along for the ride, and they're just going to auto-attack down. Storm Spirit taking a fair amount of damage himself. He has been hit with the medallion, but CEVO trying to walk away after throwing that medallion out. Not doing enough. Meanwhile, behind me, it looks like the Mirana goes down as the Death Prophet trying to run away with Exorcism in tow. Her and all her spirit buddies are going to run home with the tail between the legs, and that's a GG already in 22 minutes.
That was fast. So great work by TBC. Perhaps someone to watch in the Open upcoming.
Yeah, definitely. TBC really showing that they have what it takes. 5-manless is a team that I've cast before at some other community level tournaments, and they are usually a fairly well coordinated team. Tonight they seem to be having a little bit of trouble with it. I don't recognize some of these player names, so I don't know if maybe they changed some of their player names or if maybe they have some new players. That might explain it. But they really seem to have a little bit of coordination issues, and their drafting did not really get to the heart of what the Black Crows were planning on doing.
I think I agree with that. I think a lot of what their trouble was over on 5-man was communication or just the feel that you need with your team. On the other hand, TBC not only had really great communication, but whoever helps build their lists of stand-ins deserves a standing ovation because both of their stand-in tonights were game makers for TBC.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Storm Spirit's ability to use the ward over above the Roche pit next to the Ancients was mind-numbing. In fact, I would say he got minimum 4 kills off of that one ward.
And I would also say the mid is one of the hardest, other than a primary support, mid is probably the hardest position to put a stand in because it's so dependent, it's so nuanced in terms of when am I rotating, when am I holding still, what does my team need, how does my team play. The mid really needs to have its finger on the pulse of every lane, and finding a strong mid stand-in is difficult. Finding 2 strong mid stand-ins is damn near impossible, but they managed to play with a different mid player each game tonight, and both of them were arguably MVPs.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that and say congratulations to TBC for putting together good drafts, good picks, and good stand-in finds to get themselves a win during this preseason matchup.
All right. Well, for CEVO Season 4, my name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and if you did enjoy my casting here, you can catch me at GotCowDota. That's on the Twitter. You can find, my writing and casting for Join Dota and all that other stuff there. You know what you'll find there. So please stop by, throw a subscribe my way, and you can hear all of my musings. And I'm joined by Toffee, who you should also follow.
Absolutely. Pop over to Twitter. Follow me at Toffees_Dota2 for information on upcoming matches. I tweet everything before it happens. And also swing by CEVO. That's a tough one to say, by the way. Tomorrow night, we should have some more live matches for you guys from our preseason. And then Thursday, we should be doing some recasts. And if we don't, you can follow our Twitters, and me and Gorgon will be working together again on Thursday.
Yeah, sounds absolutely great. Very happy to have you guys here. Make sure you stop by CEVO for that open registration as well. And I guess that's it for CEVO. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Have a good night.